Thank you so much. We have Mr. Shekhar Chatterjee with us today for expert lecture. And if I tell about Mr. Shekhar Chatterjee, he is a very good academician, artist, designer, and a very versatile person in the field of art, design, architecture, and tourism itself. He studied from BHU. He did his graduation from BHU in Fine Arts. Later, he did his master's from NIFT Calcutta in design, and he pursued his PhD in social culture. Today's topic is importance of myths, design, and art in human culture. So I invite Shri Shekhar Chatterjee to please elaborate on the topic, and I wish that you will be present till the end of the lecture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam. Such an elaborate invitation, and I'm very pleased to present in seat. And I'm last few days conducting a course about science and liberal arts. I'm really very happy to see a unique institute like SEED, because I taught in NID. Now I'm associated with IIT Jabalpur, and also I studied in Fine Arts, NIFT. But it is a very rare combination what I have seen in SEED, that design, architecture, and especially the fine arts, which is the basic of creative field. And many institutes in India actually could not make in the initial stage of the combination of all this. So today, as you have heard, that my topic, and I really feel very honored to talk about the thoughts I have gradually developed from my academic and industrial and my PhD work. And here I again very glad to present to distinct faculty and a young creative designer. So this is the sculpture of Rodin in the 20th century. Rodin was a very famous sculptor in France. If you see the philosophy is not to elaborate something unnecessary. It is very simple meaning, that purpose of life. In India, we had a very great tradition of philosophers. They always talk about the purpose of life, even in golden time, even in the worst time, even in the crucial crisis time. After India, if you see, the France was one of the very important country where this kind of thing also happened. And this is one of the very important sculpture of Rodin. Title is Thinker. We human become human Homo sapiens, and one day, it is in a terms of one day, but it was not in one day, that we become really a conscious mind. And this conscious mind actually thinks about various things. So in the next slide, I want to take here again the three major things, that nature, form, and aesthetic. Nature, the origin of the word nature, that nasci, nat, and natura. This is the Latin. Very basic meaning is born, birth, with quality. Another is form. Formare, forma, forme, it is again Latin, to form. Mold, oblique form. And the last one is, the combination of these two is the aesthetic. Aesthetiae, aestheta, aesthetikos in Greek, aesthetic in German. perceive perceptible things. The form, the way we sometimes talk in the modern time that it is two-dimensional, it is three-dimensional, but form is the form. When you talk about a form of an apple, it will not talk about the form of a mango. Here, the form of the seating of this gathering, this will again and again talk of the form of the gathering. It is very specific. And at the same time, it talks about its quality, about the purpose of its born. Here, human, knowingly, unknowingly, discovered, even by chance, there are many hypotheses of fire. The moment we could discover it, it may be 70,000 years ago, the fire, a new hope came in our life. Because still, the young kids, very small kids, chota bachcha bhi andhere se darta hai. And we also had the same problem. The life in the cave, on the rock shelter, we were not secured about the life. We didn't know what is happening, what will happen tomorrow. So the material, environment, and gradually established in the culture, that is the belief, planning or system, and manifestation. Gradually we come to the agriculture, which is the mother of the culture, because culture came from the agriculture. And agriculture to culture, and then advanced culture, sometimes we say it is civilization. Advanced culture, where are many cultures people live together, like a country like India. We are having the equal rights. We respect each other because there is no conformity. We respect the various cultural thoughts. So that we can call the advanced culture of the civilization. I'm just telling you to little bit of clarification because it's a good amount of students, so they understand where I want to take you for the further. And from there, the culture. This is all the different mode of culture. Music, trade, geography, religion, sports, race, arts and mythology, art, architecture, writing, tasted food, dancing and clothing. And the culture in the very common, because if you Google in Google, that you will get more than 20,000 definition of culture. They are all talking about the same thing in different nomenclature, in different definition. More or less it is a system, shared beliefs, values, customs, behavior, and artifacts that the members of the society used to cope with their world and with one another, and that are transmitted from generation to generation through learning. So when we were talking about the values, maximum the exploration of the values, there are only 7 values. First is the theoretical values. Whatever is the genius people or the scholars written about that particular knowledge, we have to have, or it sometimes it actually helps. Sometimes हम ऐसा सोचते हैं कि I am going to discover this thing or new thought, but that thought is already happened. Somebody has given 1,000 years ago, 200 years ago, 50 years ago. So for that, theoretical values is very important. Then economic values. If the value is not helping you to earn your life, it is not value. So economic value. Then come aesthetics values. How you really present yourself. How do you convince the other people with your knowledge? Then comes the social values. Then come political values. Religious value, but the person like us, we are creative. For us, the exploratory values is the maximum. Exploratory values, where we add all the values, like theoretical, economical, aesthetic, social, political, religious. The same way that the advanced society, there are many advanced societies happened in the ancient world, even in the history, even in the prehistoric world, and even today. So I am showing you some of the pictures of the Achaemenid Empire, ancient time, almost 550 to 330 BC, where you see all the values. This is the one of the very eminent culture, what we get more or less all the values with the proof. Behind these values, there is a kind of myth. And myth plus ology, mythology. Today I was present in one of the jury, and one of the listening faculty members was saying that myth is always false. It is not true. It is, absolutely it is not true. Very small incident got elaborated. हो सकता है कि रामचंद्र जी यहां से लंका गए हों and killed Ravan. But the elaboration of the entire thing was again and again in every time was a curious subject. Why? Because we human, जैसे हमें अंधेरे से डर लगता है, उसी तरह there is also a very basic qualities within we have. We love to learn, listen stories. That's why we have tremendous amount of film, theaters, performance. When we see, it's a hardly matter whether we believe or not, but we believe. In the midst, whatever images I am showing you, they were all existed. And there is the purpose of those characters. A dog with two heads, Chinese dragon, laughing Buddha, and another this Greek god, half human and half sheep or bull. And even खीर के सागर में विष्णु जी सो रहे हैं और माता लक्ष्मी पैर दबा रही है. But the stories and their depiction with the skilled people, we sometime and every time believe it. Explanation of things in nature. Because human, we are into existence and we are bound to face the crisis. And in the crisis, we believe that we will overcome by the power of our belief. Give meaning things in life, depict, reveal behavior and common problems to all human beings. Now in India, we have a god called Lord Shiva. He is having the trident. Trishul. Dashera mein, if you study the story, the Durga is killing finally Asur with the same trident. In Greek also there is one god, the similar, what we call Poseidon. He is also having the trident, but the purpose is totally different. The philosophical, spiritual meaning of trident in India is also very vast, that you may understand in the second image. In dance form, we have tremendous movement of the gesture and posture. And when you uphold your two hands, both sides of your hand, it is the meaning of we all have the power of Trishul. Because it depicts three different very valuable things. Ichha Shakti, Karma Shakti, or Jnana Shakti. The same way, when the very initial meaning of the Shiva was very absurd or abstract even. Because if you see the god Vishnu from the mythology, he is having all the beautiful things. On the contrary, Shiva, he is having all the bad things. So here, from Shiva to Shankar, that is again a creative person's work. To depict that particular form, and we worship, we believe, we surrender. Same thing happened with this Ganesh also. It is possible that a human form is having the head of elephant in the reality, and he is traveling on the back of sitting a mouse. It's not possible. Definitely it is not possible. But in India, every home you go and you see on the top of the main entrance, there is Lord Ganesha. So this is the power of creativity. The same thing, not only the God, then the many monuments we see all over the world. So to explain this meaning, what Tagore said, the man, the artist, is inviting God, the artist to his home. God dwells in his own creation, and it is expected of man that he also must create his environment, his own dwelling place, which should be worthy of his soul. This is the meaning of art by Rabindranath Tagore, 1926. These are all the monuments in Athens, in Hampi, in MP, and in Agra. It's all of the particular man behind the idea of this monument to satisfy his own soul. And when particular thing actually satisfies particular soul, somebody's soul, it is also satisfying the other souls also. Now come, as we have described, we know that 5 elements, 6 elements. So there is, to understand, to reveal the nature, we have taken the help of the geometry. And that geometry actually created many forms, as I have told you in the beginning, nature, form, and aesthetics. So hexagon, within the hexagon you put these 3 blue lines, it appears as cube. हेक्सागन को क्यूब देखना और क्यूब को हेक्सागन देखना, it is two-way observation. So the world of 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional, because 3-dimensional thing is already there. But how to depict that for us? And from there, sphere, cube, and so many combinations of geometrical form. Not only that, in the human body in India, we have also seen the particular energy flow within the body and also the specific colors. This is the depiction of the geometrical form of the natural drawing, nature drawing. And also from there we see that this golden ratio. From here, another I go to the genius in 15th century, Leonardo, who has actually tried first time to depict the water movement, which is very difficult. Depiction of the human body going inside the body and so many things. Another master, which is not very famous like Leonardo, Albert Dürer. He was a very handsome man and he did his own portrait during his young time. And also he had given the particularly proper human proportion of the human body and its three-dimensional measurement. They were all inspired from the Greek and Roman culture. And that the Greek and Roman culture, when it happened in the Renaissance, and just before the Renaissance, the excavation, we come to know all this. The first one, the warriors Rome react. There are two human real-size bronze statues. Time, the 3rd century BC. One of the scientists, he was Maronist, he worked in the marine engineering, and he got from the sea level this sculpture. And this particular sculpture actually turned the human mind. Why he is naked? Because in Greek and Roman culture, that real body and perfect body of the man was always admired. That's why they were in a good athletics. Okay? So another is Augustus. That is also very leader-like quality. And the David by Michelangelo. So now when we see the body, we see the center line and also the shifting of the body weight. And the same shifting of the body weight when we do the fashion illustration, knowingly, unknowingly, we are utilizing the same formula, which is actually happened in 3rd century BC. Maybe long back, invaders destroyed those sculptures. So something more human than human. That was the main thing to make this artificial body structure. You have to do this kind of thing to make that body condition. That swiftness is in the body. Another is the same. When Napoleon, he was coronated. He was a very short guy. So to give him the leader-like quality as Augustus, it was not possible. So what painters and designers, they had given the idea that Napoleon with horse and giving the same direction, that march. This classical painting was one of the very distinguished painting considered in the history of art. Same later on we see the Lenin. You see why the same movement with Augustus, Lenin and Napoleon, very similar, great. Same thing with the woman figure. Michelangelo, where this Pieta, the first one, when the Christ is dead and Mother Mary is having his body on his lap. But if you measure these two figures, then Pieta figure is taller than the Michelangelo's figure. But it doesn't appear in the composition. Same thing in the second picture. This is from the Vatican, one of the sculpture of the Michelangelo, where the exaggerated woman figure. We get very few this kind of woman exaggerated figure, but there are also exceptions. Now come to the Indian point. Well, in Indian Point, this is one of the monument in north of Gujarat. Called Queen's Stepwell. It is the largest stepwell in the world. This was built in the time of 1064 AD, almost 1000 years ago. And this monument was built by a queen. And in this monument, you will hardly see any male figure. This is all decorated. It's a huge monument, almost 36-meter width, length, like that. 5 structures, 5 floors, 7 episodes. And here, the more than 200 Apsara figures, or you can call from the Indian art that special ladies. They are with their child, they are with their some posture, gesture, and different rituals. So here also we see, if you notice all these pictures, they were also shifting their body weight. They also have more or less the same logic. There was no connection with the Greek and the Solanki Greeks, Solanki dynasty people. But even in the different part of the world, the language of thinking to show that human more than human was more or less same. So here, this was the topic of my PhD. So what I did, that some of the sculpture, with the help of Photoshop and other software, I actually images crop and saw that how they have created the balance of their communication. So in the previous image, that this is one of the ascetic woman. She is very good in medicine, herbal medicine, and she is now out of that bracket, 2 pillars. The same another, she is a dancer. She is putting her dancing bell on her right foot. कभी ऐसा होता है क्या कि हम दाहिने पैर में जूता पहन रहे हैं और दूसरे तरफ देख रहे हैं? ऐसा होता है कभी? It's not possible. But here it is. Why? Let's see. What I have done, from the original image, crop the head from neck. First image as it is, the original one. Step 3, putting the head on the opposite direction. Not only here, I stop. I take the eye tracker and give it my students. You just watch through eye tracker. The right hand side was getting more attention just because of the head and the feet and hands position. So without eye tracker, in 1000 years ago, this craftsman, super intelligent craftsman, they knew this body language for the visual culture. That's why we go to visit the ancient temples and we are mesmerized. We say, wow, it is beautiful. So this is the comparison of the original one and the manipulated one by myself. To understand the language, why it was like this. Another with the same experiment. The same language. Because the third one, getting more attention towards right. Because her feet position on the right hand side and also her head. So left hand side is getting not at all any attention. Same with this. This was one of the very old ancient game by the woman, the ball game, and this kind of posture is not possible. Because standing balance you cannot get in this particular body movement, but they have created. So when we see the attending point, because circle and the line, so we see this kind of composition. Created a very dynamic posture. Because stone, it is not dynamic like animated character. It is static. But within this static, they have created the dynamism. Same way, their study of the jewelry in a very deep manner. So to reveal some of the information that how in the Shilpa Shastra we have the talamana, the body proportion, and the form. We only take fish or lotus for the beauty, but to create the beauty, as we have said, first I have explained that nature, form, and aesthetic, we have taken for the ideal aesthetic form, the lotus leaf, the lotus petal, fish shape for your eyes, almond, mango shape for your face. There are many other particular form. It's not very clear, but from bamboo shoot, from palm shoot, to give your hand movement. Even the male torso was not copied from the real torso. It was copied from the head of a bull. So here again, because unfortunately, we have lot many slokas in Shilpa Shastra, but not a particular man is written in his name that this is the formula. That's why this is the good thing, this is also the bad thing, because in the Western world, they always say, there was the community work. They were not a single master craftsman, but it was not like that. The purpose of the thing was little different. Here the Aristotle and Plato, what they talk about, that both believe in forms which shape everything we know. Nothing can be understood without grasping its own form. जब तक आप form को grasp नहीं कर रहे हैं, तब तक आप उसके ऊपर काम नहीं कर सकते. Plato insisted that the forms were the true reality. The world of appearances copies them. इसीलिए फाइन आर्ट्स कॉलेज में, या हो सकता है जितना मैंने थोड़ा देखा है यहाँ पे थिएटर के फैकल्टीज भी हैं, हम मूवी दिखाते हैं, हम प्ले दिखाते हैं, उससे हम कॉपी ही सीखते हैं. रोने का बच्चा भी कॉपी ही सीखता है. किसी बच्चे को अगर हम करते हैं तो वो भी हमें देख के मुस्कुराता है. So from very beginning we learn to copy. Only the style, the presentation is different. Like Plato and Aristotle, through that the art involved imitation even in tragedy, happiness and misery. Here in India, what Shankhya philosophy, the Kapil Muni, he said that Purush and Prakriti. To understand the form and its aesthetic and its meaning. Another is Vatsyayan. इन्होंने तो काम सूत्र में पूरी कर्म का ही description किया है. And whenever we go to visit the ancient temple, we see the outside of any monument is full of this kind of description. This is the thing that the myth, the story was so profound, even in the abstract form of Lord Krishna, absurd form, abstract form, it is always communicated as a Krishna. Even in Ram, or even in any particular character, which are very bold in mythology. Now, what happened in modern India? After independence, some of the few eminent figures were thinking about कि इंडिया में डिज़ाइन या आर्ट को कैसे शुरू किया जाए. This happened by Charles and Reims, by the invitation of our first Prime Minister Nehruji to visit India for 2 years, 1958 to 60, and given a report called India Report. ये इंडिया रिपोर्ट में उन्होंने सबसे अलग एक दृष्टिकोण दिया. What was very much useful for the young people of that particular time to give a direction. He said, the design or designer cannot work only with the design. Design is a work of community. So they have created 3 categories. First category is philosophy. Here is not a philosophy like a person who is absolutely frustrated. बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें कह रहा है, काम कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. Here is the philosophy means purpose of life. आप क्यों करना चाहते हो? किसके लिए करना चाहते हो? आगे वाली पीढ़ी को इससे क्या फायदा होगा? फालतू आपकी बातें सुनने के लिए मेरे पास वक्त नहीं है. That is the philosophy. Second is psychology. Yes. अभी एक मूवी है डियर जिंदगी, उसमें एक बड़ा अच्छा सा कम्युनिकेशन है कि आप जब अपने लिए एक स्टडी टेबल या स्टडी चेयर खरीदते हो, आप ऐसी दुकान में जाते हो और खरीद के ले आते हो क्या? नहीं, हम तो उसके ऊपर काफ़ी रिसर्च करते हैं, कंफर्ट देखते हैं, बजट देखते हैं, चॉइस देखते हैं, कलर देखते हैं. तो आप जिंदगी में ऐसे घटनाएं क्यों करते हो जो आपकी जिंदगी में अचानक हो जाती है और आपके साइकोलॉजिकल डिसऑर्डर्स हो जाते हैं? So design is also one of the way that it should not create your psychological disbalance. आदमी कभी ऐसे चलता था, फिर सीधा हुआ, और हमारे पास ऐसे डिवाइस आ गए कि फिर हम ऐसे हो गए. ठीक है? So I think you understood what I really want to address. Then come physiology. Then comes anthropology, उसमें भी cultural anthropology. What I am talking about, it is the cultural anthropology. I am not talking about any race, any structure of human skull, any size of the human height. Another is political history, economics, mathematics, physics, statistics, and communication. Second category में उन्होंने रखा demography, art history, paintings, graphics, architecture and sculpture. And third category में उन्होंने रखा engineering, mechanical and definitely production. We don't need another Taj Mahal. And at the same time we don't need another toaster. आप मार्केट में जाओ, आपको 20 तरह के टोस्टर ऑलरेडी मिल जाएंगे. हमें और 21वां टोस्टर नहीं चाहिए. हमें ऐसा चीज चाहिए जो कि हमें ज़रूरत हो और उसके प्रॉपर प्रोडक्शन प्लानिंग हो, उसमें इंजीनियरिंग हो, उसमें मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी हो. दिस इज हिज वर्ड्स. So from here, again re-articulated the design structure to take the young designers to that particular way. This is some of the way. It is very different from the fine arts type of drawing, but it is a drawing. Obviously, just copy from the nature. Perspective, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. Human drawing. Then any object, furniture, jewelries, in 3-dimensional. You are able to make rhombus. That is also the cube, plane of a cube in a space. Visualization होना चाहिए उस level तक. Different objects. Another different objects. Machine drawing, very, very big machine drawing. Then from here, they already started twisting something which is not possible within the real object. So nail cutter turned into different form. Sharpener turned into different curve. And also the sandal. It's very difficult to draw a sandal. आप अच्छे से अच्छे illustrated को भी देखोगे कि उसका 3D sandal नहीं बना रहा है. Either top view, side view. How to make which is not symmetry. जूता हमारा symmetry नहीं है. Hand हमारा symmetry नहीं है. और हमारा body भी vertically symmetry है, horizontally symmetry नहीं है. ठीक है? Very abstract form. Create thunder, speed, velocity only with the dots and lines. हम velocity बोलेंगे तो पहिया दिखा देंगे. Speed दिखाएंगे तो घोड़े की टांग दिखा देंगे. We don't want to see all this. It's already there in the nature. Most basic element. Dot and lines. Gradually a particular alphabet. So understanding of visual dynamics that exists between any two or more elements within a given forms. Then comes color. But here the green in black, the green in red. Here it appears the same green. But the moment you omit the black and red, both the greens are different. That is the learning in that color exercise. So from here, the color from plane on a cube, surface of a cube, and creates a different light, so it creates the same particular color form in a different plane, appears totally different. Another is transformation. If you also see what is design, you will get another 1000 definition about design. But in a very common sense, the designs means to bring change. So this is one of the fundamental things. So change from here we see V to B. And also from circle, square, and also they are moving in 5 and 6 particular space. Another is the concept that नल में से पानी बह रहा है. Wastage of water, and that tap is no more functional. उसको आपको visually दिखाना है. If really we want to show that in mechanical way, then it will take 6 months. But if gradually the young designers are skillful and they understand the thing, they can make that kind of representation in the visual language to show, to depict that this tap is not functional. Same also with the movement of the door or lock. Another is also the stepwise movement of bud to flower and leaf to flower. Leaf is also there in the nature and flower is also there. But the mid form, from left or from right, the mid after 3 and after 3, that form is not possible in the nature. That form is only possible by that depictor who has done that. Same way, the imagination of the drawing, based on the context, subject. It is changing or interrelation of the two different objects, making some sense. And it is believable for a time being, as we have done with Lord Shiva, Ganesh, Lakshmi, Durga, or Buddha, or whatever. All over the world it happened. Then comes the material exploration. To this level, you will get many confidence to create your own visual language. You want to write a novel, but unfortunately, if you are not able to write a beautiful letter, meaningful letter, then it is just a dream. So from there is not enough. It is now a construction drawing. You take any object. Suppose if you see this object from the audience, and you don't see from the audience the behind of this object, it doesn't mean that behind part of this object is not existing. So to understand, to draw, to idealize, visualize that, you have to think that entire object in a wireframe, through and through. Absolutely transparent, not even translucent. So you see all the drawing, it is absolutely transparent. All the structure is transparent. Very common object, but very difficult object. Very common object, but very difficult to draw this in wireframe. Then, when the object drawing is absolutely perfect, then you can do the rendering of different materials. With the furniture in the same way. Pottery and ceramic. So, seeing, believing and knowing. Seeing is knowing, you see and you better observe. यहाँ पे हमने जितने भी आपको images दिखा रहे हैं, they are exaggerated in that particular manner. The way we try to exaggerate in the design and creative field. So Impressionists who have actually utilized the modern color to extent, they used to paint on the spot. And the duration of the painting was hardly 40 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, because the exact sunlight, and sun is moving, earth is also moving. Light is also moving. So you have to be very accurate on that particular duration when you paint. So, the color strokes, they were unfinished. For that particular thing, the academician first rejected their painting. They struggled very hard to put their ideas in front of the common people, even in the educationist. So light and color, rather than the shape, express more than realism. the art of caricature is fused by it. It actually draws our attention to observe the extreme of human form. All the characters. हमने कभी सोचा कि बच्चे क्यों पागल होते हैं? They don't give any attention if there is animated film, just because of this. Because the characters are exaggerated. The catwalk and model poses, mind registered because it is impossible in reality. Marketing images do the same. Capture our mind by exaggerating qualities that we regard as important. As modern society become more culturally diverse, what we change further, but instinct is still alive. I want to ask from the student, who is the first, whose image is the first one? From the student community. पहला इमेज किसका है? हेलो, पहला इमेज किसका है बॉस? शाहरुख खान. Einstein. Very good. Second image. Who said that? Frankenstein. You know about the Frankenstein? Yes. And there is a film on Frankenstein. It's a beautiful story. Yeah. So here the aesthetic in the image itself of Einstein is experiment, discoveries, experiment, inspiration, and knowing facts. On the contrary, the Einstein is fear, doubts, danger, unpredictable, evil in nature. So how human made art and art made us human? So few of the lines I have written as my concluding thing, that too much reality is also boring. If the art, design, fashion is about realism, then why we need them at all? When you realize it is boring, then you have to do some interesting things. With the image, distort it in a specific way, not randomly, but lawfully, in order to exaggerate aesthetically so that brain responds to the body. The reality is we human don't like reality. This portion I am taking from the Ramchandran, a very eminent neurologist working in NASA. That's why we choose to exaggerate where the magic begins. So the modern world is full of unrealistic image of body. That instinct still dominates our world since the time of consciousness. We are stimulated by sight. We exaggerate what matters most, and that is already pre-programmed in our brain. The ancient Greeks care about the physical perfection. They believe if you look good, you work good. They also believe that God has human body, same in India also. The temples were filled with lifelike statues of God, of human form, and they were all very astonishing. the same thing we also found in the part of the world. Michelangelo too created unrealistic body. They were more human than human. Culture is the king, the type of society we live in and the value that society has actually dictates how we depict the body. If cultural values changes, the exaggeration of the body change too. Impressionist exaggerated light and color rather than shape to express more than realism. The catwalk, model poses, mind registered because it is impossible in reality. As a modern society become more culturally diverse, that we change further and further, but the instinct is still alive. With this, my last slide, I wish you, आपको गणेश की सिद्धि, शिव की शक्ति, मीरा की भक्ति, चाणक्य की बुद्धि, राम की मर्यादा, कर्ण का दान, और जब एटीएम और बैंक में पैसे नहीं हैं और आपको मिल भी नहीं रहे हैं, तो उस समय आपको कुबेर का बहुत सारा धन प्राप्त हो, इसी आशा के साथ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।